Good afternoon, everyone. We are the reporters of Group 1. So today we will be going to discuss about refrigeration. So how do you define refrigeration? So it is the process of removing heat from an enclosed space or from a substance for the purpose of lowering the temperature. And what is refrigeration used for? So it is the removal of unwanted heat from a selected object, substance, or space, and its transfer to another object, substance, or space. So, unsa sa day kalahian sa refrigerator o refrigeration? So, ang refrigerator, it is a device or system used to maintain the low temperature below the atmosphere temperature within required space. And then, ang refrigeration kay it is the method of reducing temperature of a system below surrounding temperature and maintain it at lower temperature, continuously abstracting the heat from it.
So this is the continuation of the first reporter. So refrigeration, it can be defined as the process of transferring heat from a low temperature region to a high temperature region. So ang kaning refrigeration is mao ni siya ang mo process para ma-transfer ang heat from a low to high temperature region. In other words, it is the process of cooling a substance. So mao ni siya ang mupabugnaw or cool. This can be achieved only if the heat is removed from the substance. So, ma-achieve ra ni nato siya if ang heat is ma-remove nato sa substance. So, in other words, refrigeration is the artificial cooling. Artificial cooling ra ni siyang refrigeration. So, naay principle ang refrigeration. The principle of refrigeration is based on second law of thermodynamics. So, ang refrigeration is nag-base ra siya sa second law of thermodynamics. So, unsa diin ang thermodynamics? So, ang thermodynamics is siya, study of relations between heat, work, temperature, and energy. So, it states that heat does not flow from a low temperature body to a high temperature body without the help of an external work. So dili ma-transfer ang heat from sa low temperature body to a high temperature body if walay mutabang niya, if walay mutabang niya or dili matabangan sa external work. In refrigeration process, since the heat has to be transferred from a low temperature body to a high temperature body, some external work has to be done according to the second law of thermodynamics. So, unsa din ning second law sa thermodynamics? So, the second law of thermodynamics is a physical law of thermodynamics about heat and loss in its conversion. So, ang second law of thermodynamics is siya physical law. Then it talks about the heat and loss. This external work is done by means of compressor, condenser, and etc. So, kanang dinha sa kilid is mao na siya ang napakita sa external. The machine which works under this principle and serves the purpose of refrigeration is called a refrigerator. So, diri na nato makuhaan ang refrigerator. So, naay terms ang refrigeration. First is the refrigerator. So, unsa din ang refrigerator? It is a machine used to extract heat from a body at low temperature and reject this heat to a body at high temperature. Thus, it cools the body. So, unsa ni siya ka machine which is nakaibaw naman jud og unsa ning refrigerator no kay mostly sa mga tao jud ron is naay ref or refrigerator. No, next is the refrigerant. So, unsa din ang refrigerant? It is substance which is used as a working fluid in refrigerator. The refrigerant has low boiling point. Ang kaning refrigerant is kanang low ra ang iyang boiling point, which means that it vaporizes at low temperature and takes away the heat from a substance. So, example sa refrigerant is kaning diri mga picture. Mura ra siya kuano kanang butane gani ing ana ra. Siya ang iya porma, murag gasol inana. So, number 3 is capacity of refrigerator ay sa di ay properties of good refrigerant. So first, have low freezing and boiling point, have high COP or coefficient of performance, be non-toxic and non-corrosive to metal, be non-explosive, 5 easily be liquefied. So next is the capacity of refrigerator. It is defined as the rate at which heat can be removed from the cold body. Simply, it is the rate of which refrigeration can be produced. Its unit is expressed in terms of ton of refrigeration. 1 ton of refrigeration is defined as the quantity of heat removed to freeze 1 ton of water into ice at 0 Celsius degree in 24 hours. So, ang kaning capacity of refrigerator is ang 1 ton of refrigerator is siya kanang nag-consist or freeze 1 ton of water into ice at 24 hours. So, mauna na. Next is mauna ning example sa refrigerant. So, next is the refrigeration effect. So, it is defined as the ratio of the quantity of heat removed to time taken. Refrigeration effect equals heat removed over time taken. Then, next is coefficient of performance or COP. It is defined as the ratio of heat observed in a given time or refrigeration effect to the work done. COP equals refrigeration effect over work done. So, inana ra siya. Then, next is types of refrigerators. First is vapor compression refrigerators. Kaduha is vapor absorption refrigerator. So, ang next reporter na ang mo-discuss about aning duha.
Vapor compression refrigeration system. This type of refrigeration system is the most commonly used system in domestic refrigerators. In VCRS, the vapor alternatively undergoes a change of phase from vapor to liquid and vice versa during a cycle. So, construction. Vapor compression refrigeration system has the following components at its basic. So, ang vapor compression, mao ni ang system nga diin ang refrigerant moagi sa mga pagbag-o sa mga phases from vapor to liquid and vice versa during a cycle of the mini refrigeration cycle ug mao ni ang kasagaran nga gamiton nga pamaagi para sa air conditioning sama sa mga building ug auto. So the first components of the vapor, which is ang compressor. The function of the compressor is to compress the input refrigerant of low pressure and low temperature. As a result, the pressure and the temperature of the refrigerant increases. Generally, reciprocating compressors are used in a refrigeration system. An external motor is used to drive the compressor. So, ang compressor mo ni ang mobomba nga makahimo og flow sa refrigerant. The compressor work by increasing the pressure and temperature sa vaporized refrigerant. The second component is the condenser. The condenser is a coil of tubes which are made of copper. This is used to condense the refrigerant, which is the form of vapor, and convert into a liquid. So, ang condenser mo ni siya ang removes heat from the hot refrigerant vapor gas until it condenses into a saturated liquid, aka condensation. So, after condensing, the refrigerant is a high pressure and low pressure liquid, at which point it's routed to the LOPS expansion device. So, ang third component, which is ang expansion valve, this otherwise called throttle valve, This valve is used to control the flow rate of refrigerant and also to reduce the pressure of the refrigerant. So ang expansion valve, it is the device used nga mo control sa refrigerant flow in refrigeration system. And it helps also to facilitate the change of higher pressure of a liquid refrigerant in the condensing until to lower pressure gas refrigerant to evaporator. So the fourth component, which is ang evaporator. This is the part in which the cooling takes place. This is kept in the space where cooling is required. It is coil of tubes made of copper. So ang evaporator, it is used to turn any liquid material into a gas. In this process, heat is absorbed. So the evaporator mo transfer og heat from the refrigerated space into a heat pump through a liquid refrigerant. When boils in the evaporator at a low pressure. This is the picture of compressor, condenser, expansion valve, and evaporator.
Condensers are used for efficient heat rejection in many industrial systems. Condensers can be made according to numerous designs and come in many sizes ranging from rather small handheld to very large industrial scale units used in plant process. For example, a refrigerator uses a condenser to get rid of heat extracted from the interior of the unit to the outside air. Expansion valve. Expansion valve removes pressure from the liquid refrigerant to allow expansion or change of state from a liquid to vapor in the evaporator. Evaporation. Evaporation is a device used to turn the liquid form of a chemical substance, such as water, into its gaseous form vapor. In this process, the liquid is evaporated or vaporized. Absorber. Absorber is a thing that soaks up or absorbs something.
So let's talk about the vapor absorption refrigeration system. It uses a heat source such as solar energy, fossil fuel flame, wasted heat from factories to provide the energy needed for the cooling processes. In VAR system, compressor is replaced by absorber and generator. Ammonia as suitable refrigerant for VAR system. The main parts of the vapor absorption system are as follows: evaporator, condenser, generator, absorber, pump, and expansion device. You can see the illustration below of the VAR system, where you can see the vapor generator, the evaporator, and the absorber. As you observe, that vapor generator to evaporator is high pressure, while the evaporator to absorber is low pressure. So the different application of refrigeration are storage and transportation of food, preservation of medicine, manufacturing of ice and rubber, processing of petroleum, liquefaction of gases like nitrogen, oxygen, and etc., cooling of water, and lastly is comfort air conditioning of wide area. That would be all. Thank you for listening.
Now let's move on to the comparison between VCRS and VARS. VCRS, also known as Vapor Compression Refrigeration System, while ang VARS is Vapor Absorption Refrigeration System. So let's compare these two. So sa VCRS, one, it is more noise and wear and tear because of moving parts. Mas kuan siya, masaba siya. While ang kaning VARS is, the system is comparatively quieter. Mas hilom ni siya. Next comparison. Mechanical energy is utilized by means of compressor. While ang sa VARS is, heat energy is utilized. Third comparison. Refilling of refrigerant is easy, while sa VARS is refilling of refrigerant is difficult. Mas lisod siya. 4. During partial loading conditions, the performance is poor. While kaanhi sa VARS, ang performance is not affected at a partial loading. Mas dali siya. 5. The liquid refrigerant accumulated in the cylinder may damage the cylinder, so preventive measures are needed. Liquid refrigerants do not affect the performance of the system. They do not produce any bad effect. So, while comparing the two, mas makaingon ka nga ang VARS is more convenient.
Single-door fresh food refrigerator. A single-door fresh food refrigerator consists of an evaporator placed either across the top or in one of the upper corners of the cabinet. The condenser is on the back of the cabinet or in the bottom of the cabinet below the hermetic compressor. During operation, the cold air from the evaporator flows by natural circulation through the refrigerated space. The shelves inside the cabinet are constructed so air can circulate freely past the ends and sides, eliminating the need for a fan. This refrigerator has a manual defrost which requires that the refrigerator be turned off periodically, usually in overnight. To enable the buildup of frost on the evaporator to melt, both the outside and the inside finish is usually back on enamel. Porcelain enamel is found on steel cabinet liners. The interior of the unit contains the shelves, lights, thermostats, and temperature controls. Next is the two-door refrigerator-freezer combination. The two-door refrigerator-freezer combination is the most popular type of refrigerator. It is similar to the fresh food refrigerators in construction and the location of components, except it sometimes has an evaporator for both the freezer compartment and the refrigerator compartment. Also, it is a frost-free unit. The evaporators are on the outside of the cabinet because of the two separate compartments, refrigerator, freezer, and the larger capacity. These types of refrigerators use forced air or fans to circulate the air through the inside of the both compartments. The two-door refrigerator also has one of the following three types of evaporator defrost systems. First is manual defrost, second automatic defrost, and frost-free. And there are two types of automatic defrosting: the hot gas system or the electric heater system. The hot gas system, through the use of solenoid valves, uses the heat in the vapor from the compressor discharge line in the condenser to defrost the evaporator. The other system uses electric heaters to melt the ice on the evaporator system or evaporator surface. A frost-free refrigerator freezer has the evaporator located outside the refrigerated compartment. On the running part of the cycle, air is drawn over the evaporator and is forced into the freezer and refrigerator compartments by a fan. On the off part of the cycle, the evaporators automatically defrost. And next is refrigerator freezer cabinets. Are made of pressed steel with a vinyl or plastic lining on the interior wall surfaces and a lacquer exterior finish. Most domestic refrigerators have urethane foam or fiberglass insulation in the cabinet walls. The side-by-side refrigerator freezer arrangement has a number of features not found in other refrigerators. In addition to the automatic ice maker in the freezer compartment, it has an option for a cold water dispenser, a cube or crushed ice dispenser, and a liquid dispenser built into the door.
Principle of refrigeration. How does it work? So, refrigeration and air conditioning is used to cool products or a building environment. So, the transfer of heat from a low temperature region to a high temperature one requires special devices called refrigerators. So, the object of a refrigeration is to remove heat from the cold medium. So, the object of a heat pump is to supply heat to warm medium. So refrigeration it is defined as the process of providing and maintaining a temperature well below that of surrounding atmosphere. In other words, refrigeration is the process of cooling substances. Refrigerants. So it is a hot carrying medium which absorbs heat from space and rejects heat to outside the refrigerator. So, the properties ano niya is, muna siya ang good thermal conductivity for rapid heat transfer, non-toxic, non-flammable, non-corrosive, and high latent heat of evaporation and low initial and maintained cost. Coefficient of performance or COP. COP is a measure of efficiency of a refrigeration cycle or system. So it is the ratio of refrigerating effect of to the energy spent. Refrigerating effect is the amount of heat removal or absorbed from the substance to be cooled. So the energy spent may in the form of work in VCR or heat in VER. Vapor compression refrigeration or VCR. So this is the most important system from the point of commercial and domestic utility and most practical form of refrigeration. So the working of fluid refrigeration used in this refrigeration system readily evaporates and condenses or changes alternatively between the vapor and liquid phases without leaving the refrigerating plant. So, the main parts of VCR is muna siya ang compressor, condenser, expansion valve, and evaporator. Vapor compression refrigeration system or VCR. So, a vapor compression refrigeration system is employed in majority of situations where refrigeration is needed for various purposes. So, the VCRs has four main components. Muna siya ang vis, evaporator, compressor, condenser, and expansion device.